I'm Kelly and welcome to Kapowski Reads, and it is end of year reading stats time. I have some stats. I was going to call them fun stats. They're fun to me, but I also have some favourites. It's not a top 10 because that was too difficult, but we do have favourites. So I'm going to go through my stats first, and then I would like to share the books that I have loved, absolutely loved, adored the most this year. The books that I have not shut up about and don't plan to shut up about anytime soon. I would also love to know what your favourite books are from 2023. So let's do stats first. In 2023, I read a total of 203 books. I wanted to stop at 200, but I had some books I wanted to finish off, and there we are. I ended on 203, and that was a total of 64,702 pages. I am going with the stats from StoryGraph because the editions that I put that I'm reading are the editions I'm reading, whereas on Goodreads sometimes it's just too difficult to find the exact book I'm reading because there's 1,000 editions and I'm not scrolling through all of those. My main genres of the year were mystery, fantasy, romance, which was a surprise to me, young adult, and classics. With the exception of romance, that just kind of feels normal to me. I don't think I read a lot of romance. I have been reading a bit more and I like it. I have been ridiculously lucky in that I have had 39 or 38, I don't remember, 5-star reads. I mean, the maths on that is basically 20%. And that feels like, is that good odds? I don't know. But my average rating for overall ended up being 3.31%, which feels low. That's low, isn't it? But then 38 or 39 5 stars feels good. I'm going to focus on the good. I don't know if anybody is over on StoryGraph, but this year they did a really cool update on January 1st. I got this cool stats graphic, which I will add up. And I think is utterly fantastic because I was making my own graphics for my reading stats and then was like, oh, I don't need to because the lovely people at StoryGraph have done that for me, and thank you very kindly. But I think it's time. Let's get on to my favourite books of 2023. Also, I got a new jumper for Christmas and it's just perfect for videos and for, well, wearing because I like it. And it says reading for pleasure and it's cute. I'm very happy with it. I do not have a top 10 for 2023. I tried my hardest to get 10 and I couldn't. I had too many that I wanted to have on my favourites list. So instead I'm going with my top 13, which may be unlucky for some, but I've always liked the number 13. So we're going to go with that, and I'm going to go through my books in alphabetical order because I don't know. First up, Bunny by Mona Awad. This book is about a young woman at university, and she finds herself drawn into this clique that previously she had sort of mocked, but she finds herself just drawn into the sort of sickly, sweet, saccharine group of twee rich girls. They call each other Bunny, and they're odd. This book really focused on toxic female friendship and just utter chaos, which is something I love in a book. I loved this book, had some callbacks to Heathers, which is one of my all-time favourite films. And I know this book is polarising, even within my own friend group. Most of my friends hate this book, but I love them and I love this book. This next book was one of my most anticipated reads of 2023 and it did not disappoint. A Crown So Cursed by L.L. McKinney. This is the third and final book in the Nightmareverse trilogy. This book, oh, it's been a journey because this book I think was meant to come out in 2020 or 2021. Either way, it took forever to come out, and Oh, book 2 just left me on a cliffhanger, but I was delighted. This is about a young woman called Alice who is kind of this nightmare killer. She is responsible for guarding the human world from these sort of shadowy creatures known as nightmares. And there is an alternate reality, which is kind of like a Wonderland, almost Alice in Wonderland inspired. This book gave me lovable characters, strong female leads, friendship, a gorgeous, gorgeous family relationship, and whimsy. Loved it. This is now my favourite trilogy of all trilogies, and I would go as far to say it's possibly my favourite series, not including duologies, of all time. Another book that, look at me, I was finishing my series in 2023, Deathless Divide by Justina Ireland. Another strong female character who is also fighting, I mean, are we gonna say demons? I don't know if they're zombies. She's fighting zombies. Zombies are not demons. They're monsters? Are monsters demons? No, I don't know. She is a zombie slayer. And this is the final book in a duology. It's a big old book, but it was so, my emotions. This book is the majority of it is a journey, a literal journey from a place that should have been safe, but it wasn't. And they are seeking somewhere that is actually safe, a sanctuary, a safe haven for them. And as they are travelling, their party finds themselves just inundated with trials and tribulations across the way, including zombie attacks. I love this book. I love that it was dual perspective and we really got both characters got a chance to shine, and I felt I got to know the characters in the first book, but this book just gave me so much character development. I love the characters with my entire heart, and at no point while reading the second book in a zombie apocalypse series, at no point did I think that maybe there would be danger for the characters. So imagine my emotions when not everybody was okay, and I'm here going, wait, what? I thought everyone was going to be okay, and I didn't expect it, and my heart broke, and then it fixed itself, and then it broke some more, and then I just thought it was fantastic. I highly recommend the duology. I also read the first book, Dread Nation, this year, but my favourite had to be the second book. So moving away from our strong female leads who kick butt and don't even take names, to a book that is a bit, what are you doing? Death of a Bookseller by Alice Slater. This is a gorgeous book which has, it's stunning. I love this book. Obviously, I love all of these. This book is about Roach, who works in a bookshop. And she's not like other girls. In fact, she hates other girls. She is a true crime fanatic, but not in the way that other girls are. She's different. And she is happy being a loner. And then one day, a new girl starts at her work. Her name is Laura. And Laura is kind of everything that Roach isn't. She is friendly. She's friendly. She is approachable. She's unashamed of her femininity. And she's also interested in true crime. And Roach decides that Laura is going to be her friend. Laura doesn't want to be her friend. Laura finds Roach repellent and just deeply unpleasant. And there begins a tale of obsession and madness and chaos. And each of the two main characters, Laura and Roach, both go through a journey, and things escalate for each character really, really quickly. I thought this book was fantastic, and I want to reread this in, I'm going to say maybe October, November, because it's set during that time when everything's grey and just wet and miserable. And I thought this book was spectacular, and it kept me guessing. And I didn't appreciate, though, the fact that Laura in this book has a lot of the same things I have, which was a bit scary, reading about somebody who has a hat I own, uses bubble bath that I own, and uses perfume that's not a million miles away from perfume I wear. It gave me an extra level of just fear, but like in a really good way. Absolutely highly recommend. This next book, I do not see enough people talking about this, so maybe this could be a time that we talk about it. I've talked about this book before. It's Home by Kaylin Steed. This is about Zoe, who was born and raised in a cult, and she escaped the cult, gained freedom, started building a life for herself, and then she finds out that her sister, who also escaped this cult, has gone back. And Zoe decides she has to go back. She has to save her sister. And this book is very unnerving and disorienting because it's told in dual timeline. So we have flashbacks to Zoe when she was in the cult as a child and sort of what really happened. But we also have chapters from real time when Zoe's memory isn't quite what it could be. There are things that she has forgotten, things that she's misremembering, and things slowly start to get pieced together. And it's a very distressing book, but in the best way. And I thought this book was utterly spectacular. It's a it's not too long, but it's such a quick read because the chapters are just so itty bitty that you just want to keep reading and find out more, and you know, read that next flashback scene and be like, wait, what happened? So good. I have just had to put a ring light on because it is 3:20 and the sun is almost gone and I still have books to talk about. So next up we have The Honeys by Ryan LaSala. This book is set in a summer camp. We have Mars, who is gender fluid. They have lost their sister. Their sister's passed away, and Mars decides that they are going to go back to the summer camp where their sister basically died. Mars finds themselves attracted to their sister's group of friends and sort of forms a bit of a relationship there. However, Mars has to stay with the boys in the sort of male dormitory, and all the while Mars is trying to find out what happened to their sister, but also what is going on at this camp, because things are going on. And this book, when I thought I knew what was happening, there was twisty turnies and I didn't have a clue what was going on until it was happening and it was right in front of my face. And I thought this was so good. It was so weird, but like in the best way. Just everything was so unexpected. The characters were fantastic. The twists and turns, amazing. And I love a book at a summer camp. It's a kind of secluded location. And I just thought this was perfect. This was my first book by Ryan LaSala, but I do own 2 more books by him and I'm giddy about going to read those. I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast Is Me by Jameson Shea. This is about a ballerina in Paris. I could stop you right there. That's enough for me to love a book. More than that, she is a black dancer and she is facing a lot of racism in the dance community that she is part of. And she is objectively and without a shadow of a doubt the best dancer in her company, but she keeps being held back because people are awful. And she makes a deal with a demon. And it all kicks off. She makes this pact and basically starts living her dream. Her talent is being realized. She's living her dream, and it's so lovely to see her do that. But of course, people being people are generally awful, and there's jealousy, deception, lies, drama, so much drama, and I love this. There was just a teeny little bit of fantasy, a little bit of a magical world that I just loved. I read this book so quickly because I felt so immersed in this book, and it was just beautifully written, wonderful characters, and it's kind of one of those good for her. Stories that I just love. I have a feeling this next book might be a bit of a polarizing one from things I've seen. Rouge by Mona Awad. Yep, Mona Awad, you get 2 spots on my favourites list. This book was insane. It is about a young woman called Belle whose mother passed away. So she has gone back to her mother's house to just kind of take care of business. And she finds herself lured to a wellness spa. Belle is obsessed with skincare and beauty, and her mother was the same. And she finds herself taken into this spa, which has some kind of culty vibes. And this book was so, like, I felt seasick reading it. But it's so jumpy, but it's supposed to be. I almost felt as if, like, I was inside Belle's mind, which was just so fractured and just didn't know what was going on. There were points where Belle, she was forgetful, and she would forget things like words, replace words with other words. So there were some sentences in this book that made no sense, and I loved that. And there was Tom Cruise references galore. Tom Cruise was in this book. Did not expect Tom Cruise to be in my weird culty jellyfish spa book. I cannot tell you any more about this book without spoiling everything, because this was weird, but in the most wonderful what the chuff did I just read way. I loved it. I feel Mona Awad is now firmly in my list of favourite authors, because I feel like when I read her books I'm going to get chaos and madness, and that's what I like. And a strong female lead. Speaking of strong female leads, we have 4 with Alan Warner and The Sopranos. This is a Scottish classic about a choir going to Edinburgh for a competition, and it all takes place over the span of one day. And during this day, these girls just live their best lives in a way that 16-year-olds going from a small town to a big city do. So lots of drinking, lots of swearing, lots of activities that, you know, you wouldn't be telling your parents about at 16. But this book was spectacular. I felt it was so nostalgic, and it was just so, I would say it reminded me of being 16 and of being from a small town, going to a big city, the excitement that came from that, and just the bond between these girls and their relationship, and just, loved them. Loved them. It was such a good book, very 90s nostalgic. There's also a film adaptation of this called Our Ladies. One of my favourite films as well. So recommend the book, recommend the film. I also have a non-fiction on my list. Who would have thought? Strong female character by Fern Brady, who is one of my favourite comedians. She is a Scottish comedian, and this book is basically about how she as an adult was diagnosed with autism. And it is about her life, her childhood, her work, but it all sort of leads back to her autism diagnosis and how there are things that, oh, the signs were there. I read this as an audiobook with the physical copy as well. It was a great experience doing it that way. And I don't read a whole lot of memoirs, but I feel the last few years there has been a memoir that stuck out, that's really stood out for me over the year, and this time it's Fern Brady. This is the last of my Scottish books for my top 13. The Things We Do to Our Friends by Heather Darwent. This also, that cover is just dreamy. This is another sort of toxic friendship book, which is about Claire, who goes to university in Edinburgh. She's been a bit of a loner and she makes some friends. They are in a very high tax bracket and they start embarking on some very dangerous activities. Claire finds herself drawn into these, and there is a moment where it looks like, oh, Claire's been dragged into this situation and she's going to be in trouble. But the thing is that this book includes some inner monologues from Claire, who isn't quite what she appears to be. And Claire's not the one in trouble. Everybody else is. Claire is dangerous. And I loved this. I thought that this book captured dark, again, dreary Edinburgh in the rain, but it also captured just toxic friendship, and it was chaotic, and I felt it was very unexpected. I didn't see the twists coming, and I had a roller coaster ride of a journey, and I thought it was amazing. This, I think this was my pick for the McIlvany New Fiction Award, which is the award for debut Scottish crime, because it was my favourite, but it didn't win. But it won in my heart. I mean, the one that won, I absolutely loved. It was squeaky clean, and that's a really good book too. But I love this one too. On to our last two, and there is a reason that I wait until the 31st of December is over, or just it's the 1st. Today's the 1st. That's because I'm always conscious that I might read a book in December and love it and want to add it to my favourites. So I like to just wait till the year is over before getting my favourites. And that's what happened this year, because 3 Holidays and a Wedding by Uzma Jalaluddin was one of my favourites. In fact, this was my book of December, my favourite read of December. This book I read as an ebook, and I loved it so much that I had to get it on paperback, because if I love a book, I want to be able to hold it. This is about 2 strangers, Miriam and Anna, who are on an ill-fated plane journey. They are on a flight. They're trying to fly to Canada, and there's a snowstorm, so they are forced to land. And they land in this gorgeous, snowy, because of course it's winter, winter wonderland. This tiny little village that is also hosting a film crew who are making a cozy Christmas film. Miriam is trying to plan her sister's wedding, and Anna she's just frantically trying to get to her boyfriend's family to meet the parents. And each of them, they're so desperate to get where they want to go, but they can't, so they have to make the best of a bad situation. And this was like a cozy Hallmark film, but so much more than that. So there was the cozy winter setting, which was just gorgeous. Loved the town, loved all the characters. There was romance twice, 2 romances, and gorgeous family moments. Really feel good, really heartwarming. But so much more than that was that Anna and Miriam both found each other. They found a friend, and they'd both been so just lonely. And I think that's what made me love this book so much more than just, you know, a cozy Christmas book. It had that extra bit of heart of these 2 women just finding themselves and finding a friend who understands them, going for what makes them happy. And I thought it was, I mean, I was sobbing reading this. My heart was warmed. There was a grandfather character who, I love a wise older character in a book, and I had it in this. It's gonna be a December favourite reread for me. I feel it. I loved it. And my final favourite book of 2023, The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. This book is about a writing retreat that takes place in a secluded location, and there's snow, and they're snowed in, and the writing retreat is not quite what it appeared to be, and murder happens. It's so good. I love a secluded setting with a murder. And that's what I got from this book. But so much more was just, it was weird. But again, I also got some friendship moments. It was so strange and so unexpected. There were twists and turns that I did not see coming, and I loved it. I loved the sort of desperation of the characters and how they were just so willing to go along with things that were not right, because the prize was just so worth it for them. And I just loved sort of getting to see how people ticked, their sort of thought process. And this book was just so like weird. It was weird. It was unexpected. I was kept guessing, twisty and turny. Loved it. Again, snow. I like what I like. I like a weird book. I like a strong female lead. I like a secluded location. Maybe there's snow. And I think I just like a book to just be an experience that when I've read it, I'm left going, what on earth have I just read? Because I think that that is what I could summarize the majority of my favourite books as. I don't know if I can lift my favourite books. Let's see. Oh, it's going to go everywhere, isn't it? Okay, these were my favourite books of 2023, and I love them, and I recommend all of them. And if you've read any of them, let me know, even if you didn't like them. You know, the heart wants what the heart wants, and my heart wants all of these. I am not picking a favourite book for the entire year because I worked really hard to try and get it down to 13, and I can't pick my favourite. I pick them all because I can. If you have any favourites for this year, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. And thank you so much for watching. Happy New Year. Bye.